Hello everybody and welcome to Women's Spaces. My name is Elaine Holtz and I'm your host. I am so excited about this show, as I am with every show, but particularly with this show because I'm interviewing a very special person by the name of Connie Baxter Marlow. I met Connie and her partner Andrew at the Harmony Festival 2007 when I was so privileged to see the movie that she produced called In Search of the Future. I know that this interview is going to be inspiring and uplifting because in talking to Connie, she's very solution-oriented. And that's what we're going to try to talk about during this show, is some solutions to look at the positive aspect of who we are as human beings and what is actually taking place on this planet. Well, without further ado, I want to introduce Connie. Hello, Connie, and welcome. Welcome to Women's Spaces.
Hi, Elaine. Very wonderful to be here.
Well, you know, we talked a long time about you being on the show, and here you are. It's just thrilling to me. I can't thank you enough for honoring me by being on this show and by expressing yourself to all the women in Sonoma and Mendocino counties. Anyway, the way I generally start the show off is I ask my guests, tell me a little bit about yourself. Who is Connie Marlow Baxter?
Well, I was raised in the great state of Maine. I was educated in New England and transferred for my senior year to UC Berkeley and graduated in 1968 from UC Berkeley in economics. And 67, 68 was a fascinating time in Berkeley, and I learned from being there to stand up for myself and what I believe in. And I came from a family in Maine of politicians and philanthropists, men who had stood up for themselves and what they believed in their hearts. So I came from a family that led me on a path to question the everyday status quo. And I had a distinct belief in the human spirit and the human heart and the love in the human heart. And that sent me on a journey throughout my life to find out the missing pieces in the paradigm. I felt that there was something missing in our paradigm that didn't allow this full expression of the human spirit and the human heart. And I spent my life seeking these missing pieces.
You know, it's interesting. You talk about the human heart and spirituality, and yet you majored in economics. How did you make that transition? I mean, how did you fit economics in with your basic philosophy?
Well, I was, well, frankly, economics was, I fell into it at Wheaton College because I liked the professor. There was a woman there who I liked very much. And so, I have the mentality, and my father was very supportive of me, and I thought that he always expected me to be president of IBM. He's actually very disappointed that I'm not. And the whole spiritual path actually didn't kick in until around 1990. So I was grown and had children, and it was actually the birth of my children that led me on the, actually to walk out of the paradigm with my child rearing practices. So my life has been a broad-based experiential thing of it being able to experience the mainstream and the culture and a lot of the work that I do has to do with America and America becoming all it can be. And this broad base of my experience gives me a breadth to draw from, because I actually have an economic theory that I've drawn from my experience with the American Indians. I've spent an extensive time with the American Indians. In seeking the missing pieces to the paradigm, I went to Europe first. I took up with an Austrian ski champion and went to Europe looking for these missing pieces and didn't find them because Europe is just us. So I came back to home and discovered the American Indian down in Santa Fe. I was living in the Rocky Mountains at the time and discovered the American Indian and discovered that they understand the universe in such a way that they're bringing missing pieces to our understanding. And that's why I've been creating forums for visionary elders for the past 20 years to share their understanding of the nature of the universe. And that's what this film ultimately is. It's the indigenous peoples of the world sharing their understanding of the nature of the universe, because I believe they're carrying important missing information about the nature of the universe.
Well, you know, it's interesting, though. I just want to go back a little bit to just make a point. You mentioned that when you had your third child, all of a sudden you made this transition. And, you know, the show, you know, beginning to look for different avenues, different levels of spirituality, and trying to understand things a little bit better. And, you know, this show is dedicated to ordinary women doing extraordinary things. And it also came out of a vision that as women, we are the birthers, and that it almost becomes our responsibility to take care of the children, not only our own children, but the children of the world. So I just want to validate you for saying, okay, here you are, a mother, you know, and all of a sudden you start looking and saying, hey, wait a minute, there must be something different. There must be something better for not only for myself, but for my children. So I just want to validate that for you. You know, I noticed, you know, the show, the movie itself, In Search of the Future, is mainly based on information from various indigenous people. In fact, we're going to show a little clip of the film in a few minutes. But I'd just like you to give us a little bit of an idea. How did you come? Here you are, going to school, coming to Berkeley. You know, your father wants you to be president of IBM. You become a mother. And then all of a sudden, you're getting involved with all these different indigenous cultures. How did that happen for you, and what are some of the things that you found out at that time?
Well, in this seeking of the missing pieces, I came to discover that there are 500 Indian nations who had an understanding of the nature of the universe that aligned with my innate knowing, and also with my ancestors in Maine who had given away all of the family money to the people of Maine. They were extraordinary philanthropists and within the political arena and within their lives, and they didn't hoard money. They didn't save money. And I wondered, well, what's that all about? Well, in the indigenous knowing, you don't hoard. You don't keep things. You keep the flow going, you see? So our whole culture that's based on scarcity and lack and hoarding and fear is actually antithetical to the true nature of the universe, which is an abundant universe. And if we keep things flowing and we understand the abundant nature of the universe, then we will change our behavior. And in the indigenous understanding of the nature of the universe is this knowing. They will be cared for. We will all be cared for abundantly.
You know, it's interesting that you say that, because our culture, the American culture, seems to be the individual. You have to take care of yourself. You have no support systems. You know, you're on your own. And when you start talking about these universal concepts, that the universe actually supports us, it's a fascinating idea. In fact, the other day I was doing some writing, and I was thinking about that idea. The universe is so abundant and it supports us. And I went outside and looked up in the stars. And suddenly I realized we do live in an abundant universe, and it goes on and on and on, and it's so beautiful and so expansive, and I'm part of that universe. It was a very exciting moment for me. So would you just address that just a little bit?
The woman in your life who will do what she must do to comfort you and calm you down and let you rest now. The woman in your life, she can rest so easy. The woman in your life who will do what she must do to comfort you and calm you down and let you rest now. The woman in your life, she can rest so easily. She knows everything you do, because the woman in your life is you. The woman in your life knows simply what is true. She knows the simple way